Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video from our channel, Olden Goldens. In this video, we'll be highlighting American celebrities who have passed away in the last few days, along with other notable figures from around the world. Before we proceed, we kindly ask you to show your love and support by giving this video a like. It means a lot to us.
Nick Gravenites, a Chicago blues musician who relocated to San Francisco in the 1960s and played an important role in that city's burgeoning rock scene, died September 18th after many months of failing health. He was 86. His death was announced by family on his Facebook page. Details about cause or place of death were not disclosed, with the post noting that details will follow as they arrive. The Gravenites family appreciates all of the fans and loved ones who have been there for us during this time. The Facebook note states, "A GoFundMe page to defray medical costs for Gravenites was set up in April, in part by longtime friend and colleague Barry Melton of Country Joe and the Fish. Gravenites was born on October 2nd, 1938 in Chicago, and by the mid-1950s, he'd immersed himself in the city's blues scene, forming, as his website bio puts it, a coterie of misfit white kids, with such future rock stars as Elvin Bishop, Paul Butterfield, and Michael Bloomfield. The blues acolytes became a fixture in the South Side bars and clubs that hosted such greats as Muddy Waters, Buddy Guy, Howlin' Wolf, Jimmy Reed, and Otis Rush, absorbing the musical lessons that they'd transform into the blues rock and psychedelic guitar rock of the mid to late 1960s and 70s. After years of moving between Chicago and San Francisco, Gravenites eventually embarked for the Bay Area for good in 1965, settling into the burgeoning Haight-Ashbury music scene. Gravenites, who sang, played the guitar and harmonica, and was a prolific songwriter, teamed with his old Chicago pal Bloomfield to form the Electric Flag in 1967. The group, with Gravenites on vocals, performed at the 1907 Monterey Pop Festival, and while the band would never achieve the national fame of other artists on the scene, its impact on San Francisco's blues rock bands of the day, notably Quicksilver Messenger Service and Big Brother and the Holding Company, was considerable. His friendship with the members of Big Brother would have a significant impact on the career of the band's lead singer Joplin. With Gravenites' support and encouragement, Joplin left the band in 1968 and struck out on her own as a solo artist. Both Gravenites and Bloomfield helped shape Joplin's first solo album, 1969's I Got Dem Old Cosmic Blues Again Mama, with Gravenites writing the track Work Me Lord for the record. The song would become a staple of Joplin's live shows and become a highlight of the singer's performance at Woodstock. Gravenites briefly filled in on vocals for a post-Joplin Big Brother. He sang a duet on the song Ego Rock that appeared on the posthumous Joplin in Concert album, and made one final contribution to the Troubled Star. He wrote the song, Buried Alive in the Blues, for inclusion on what would be Joplin's final studio album Pearl, but the singer died of a heroin overdose in the early morning hours of October 4th, 1970, the day she was set to lay down the vocal track. Buried Alive in the Blues appeared as an instrumental on Pearl and lent its title to the first major biography of the singer, 1973's Buried Alive by writer Myra Friedman. Gravenites often would perform the song, complete with his lyrics, in concert as a tribute to Joplin. Pearl streeted 3 months after and topped the Billboard 200 chart for 9 weeks. It has sold more than 1 million copies in the U.S. alone. Shortly after Joplin's death, Gravenites produced the song, One Toke Over the Line, for the folk rock duo, Brewer and Shipley, a track that went to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1971. Despite the song's blatant drug reference, the gentle musicianship and production all but disguised the potentially controversial element. A clueless Lawrence Welk even featured an easy-listening version on his national TV show that year. Other Gravenites songs were recorded by such artists as Pure Prairie League, Tracy Nelson, Roy Buchanan, Jimmy Witherspoon, as well as several of the blues greats he had long worshipped like Howlin' Wolf, Otis Rush, and James Cotton. His best-known song, Born in Chicago, was the opening track on the 1965 self-titled debut album by the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, and would go on to become a blues standard. Among the many artists who have recorded versions are Jesse Cullen Young, George Thorogood, Tom Petty, and the Heartbreakers, and, in 1990, the influential alternative band Pixies. The song was honored by the Blues Hall of Fame in 2003. Gravenites would maintain a busy local profile in the Bay Area for decades, often collaborating with Bloomfield, Taj Mahal, Huey Lewis, and, most consistently, John Cipollina of Quicksilver Messenger Service. In 2013, he was featured in the documentary Born in Chicago about the 60s Chicago blues scene. The film was shown at the SXSW Festival in Austin and is streaming on Amazon Prime.
James Earl Jones, the revered actor who voiced Star Wars villain Darth Vader, starred in Field of Dreams, and many other films and Broadway shows and is an EGOT winner, died this morning at his home in Dutchess County, New York. He was 93. Widely regarded as among the world's great stage and screen actors, Jones is one of the few entertainers to have won the EGOT, though his Academy Award was honorary. Jones has received 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, a Daytime Emmy, a Spoken Word Grammy Award in 1977, and 3 Tony Awards. The actor amassed nearly 200 screen credits during his brilliant 60-year career, starting some early 60s TV guest roles in Stanley Kubrick's 1964 classic Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. He probably is best known for his voice role as the dastardly Darth Vader in George Lucas's original Star Wars trilogy, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. He also reprised the villainous role in Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Star Wars, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker in TV's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Star Wars Rebels. Movie fans will remember such chilling, immortal Vader quotes as, "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. I find your lack of faith disturbing." And of course, "No, I am your father." Also among Jones's best-loved roles is Terrence Mann, the reclusive 1960s author who reluctantly teams with Kevin Costner's Ray Kinsella to unlock the latter's visions of baseball lore in Field of Dreams. Based on the 1982 novel Shoeless Joe, the film from writer-director Phil Alden Robinson yanked, at heartstrings with its sweet nostalgia, high-concept plot, father-son dynamics, and general excellence. It earned 3 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. It lost to Driving Miss Daisy, a film whose Broadway adaptation starred Jones as Hoke Colburn, the character played by Morgan Freeman on the big screen. Jones also voiced the Lion King's Mufasa in both the 1994 animated pick and 2019 hybrid remake. Among his dozens of other films are The Bingo Long-Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings, A Piece of the Action, Conan the Barbarian, Soul Man, Coming to America, The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Sneakers, The Sandlot, Clear and Present Danger, Judge Dredd, Gang Related, and Coming Second America. He also lent his sonorous voice to the famous This Is CNN promo campaign for the cable news network and recurring as the narrator on Third Rock from the Sun. He also appeared on The Simpsons 3 times. J.D. Souther, a songwriter whose collaborations with the Eagles, Linda Ronstadt, and James Taylor helped define the Laurel Canyon, Southern California country-tinged rock sound of the 1970s, has died. He was 78. According to a message posted last night on his official website, Souther died peacefully at his home in New Mexico. Neither a cause nor a date of death was given. Born John David Souther, he went by J.D., sans periods, throughout nearly all of his professional career. Souther was born in Detroit, raised in Amarillo, Texas, and moved to Los Angeles in the late 1960s, where he soon and fortuitously formed a band called Long Branch Pennywhistle with musician-songwriter Glenn Frey. The two would continue their songwriting collaboration even after Frey went on to co-found the Eagles, one of the most successful rock bands in history. Together, Souther and Frey would contribute to some of the Eagles' most enduring and beloved songs, including Best of My Love, James Dean, and New Kid in Town. With Frey, Eagles bandmate Don Henley, and rocker Bob Seger, Souther wrote Heartache Tonight, a one-hit for the Eagles in 1979 that capped a decade of the band's massive popularity and influence. A cornerstone of the early 70s Los Angeles music scene centered around the rustic yet posh Laurel Canyon area and the Troubadour Bar in West Hollywood. Souther collaborated with, or merely befriended, some of the most impactful musicians of the era, including Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, James Taylor, Randy Newman, Poco, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and a young singer from Tucson, Arizona named Linda Ronstadt. Souther and Ronstadt would become a couple during those years, though their musical collaborations and lifelong friendship would outlast the romance. Among other projects, Souther co-produced her 1973 album, Don't Cry Now, writing several songs for the record, including the title tune. He would continue writing songs for and occasionally singing duets with the singer throughout her country rock stardom of the 1970s, including numbers for her albums Heart Like a Wheel and Living in the USA. Although he'd primarily be recognized for his songwriting skills, he wrote tunes for, among others, Bonnie Raitt, and, in 1981, collaborated and sang with James Taylor on the hit Her Town 2. Souther would also enjoy his own performing career. In the early 70s, he formed the Souther Hillman Furai Band, a sort of Eagles-like supergroup with the Byrds' Chris Hillman and Poco's Richie Furay. Though the trio would never achieve the heights of the more popular troubadour groups, its two albums included the 1974 hit Fallen in Love, which received considerable play on FM radio. In 1979, Souther had his first and only hit as a solo artist with the song You're Only Lonely, reaching #1 on adult contemporary radio. Souther, who also had a sideline career as an actor, appearing on such TV series as 30-something, Nashville and Purgatory, and in films including Postcards from the Edge, never stopped writing and performing. At the time of his death, he was set to embark on a tour with the singer Carla Bonoff. According to his website, Souther is survived by two sisters and his former wife and her daughter. Tito Jackson, the founding guitarist of iconic 70s hitmakers, the Jackson 5 that featured a young Michael Jackson and is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, died Sunday after reportedly having a heart attack while driving. He was 70. His sons TJ, Terrell, and Taj Jackson, who make up the band 3T, posted the news on social media. "We are shocked, saddened, and heartbroken," the trio wrote on Facebook. "Our father was an incredible man who cared about everyone and their well-being. Some of you may know him as Tito Jackson from the legendary Jackson 5. Some may know him as Coach Tito, or some know him as Papa T. Nevertheless, he will be missed tremendously." Also featuring brothers Jermaine, Marlon, Jackie, and later Randy, the group blasted out of Indiana in 1969 with its first 4 singles, all hitting #1. One on the Billboard Hot 100, I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. Their next 2 singles, Mama's Pearl and Never Can Say Goodbye, reached #2 in 1970. In all, the Jackson 5, later called the Jacksons, had 10 top 10 hits in the 1970s and another, State of Shock, in 1984. They also scored 7 top 10 in the UK. The band's first 4 LPs all made the top 5 on the Billboard 200 in 1970, with their seminal Jackson 5 Christmas album topping the chart that December. They would scored 4 more top 10 long players through 1984 in the U.S.-born Toriano Adderall Jackson on October 15, 1953. In Gary, Indiana, Tito Jackson was the second oldest in the group, which came together in the mid-60s under the watchful eye and heavy hand of their father, Joe Jackson. The group won an amateur talent competition at the Apollo Theater in 1967 and signed with Berry Gordy's enormously successful Motown Records in 1969, leading to their string of hits, which also included Dancing Machine, Shake Your Body, and Enjoy Yourself. Lead singer Michael was just 11 when the group broke out, and he would release the powerhouse solo albums Off the Wall and Thriller, solidifying his moniker as the King of Pop and growing more distant from the group. Michael and his brothers embarked on the massive Victory Tour of stadiums in 1984, and years later for a 30th anniversary concert special recorded at Madison Square Garden in 2001. Michael Jackson died in 2009 at 50, and his brothers, along with sisters LaToya and Janet, attended his memorial at Staples Center in Los Angeles. Tito Jackson started a solo career in the early 2000s that included the albums Tito Time and Under Your Spell. He is survived by his 3 sons and 9 grandchildren. Dolores Jackson, who married Tito in 1972 and is the mother of TJ, Terrell, and Taj Jackson, died in 1994. Pro wrestler Sid Vicious, a star at the height of the WrestleMania era of the early 1990s, whose career ended with a horrific and televised leg injury, has died after battling cancer for several years. He was 63. His death was announced on social media by son Gunnar Udy. He was a man of strength, kindness, and love, and his presence will be greatly missed, Gunnar Udy wrote about Vicious, who also went by the ring names Lord Humongous, Vicious Warrior, Sid Justice in Psycho Sid, but was born Sidney Raymond Udy on December 6, 1960, taking his most enduring ring name from the doomed punk rocker and Sex Pistols bassist who died in 1979. Udy began wrestling in 1987, rising to national prominence 2 years later when he joined World Championship Wrestling. Moving over to the WWE in 1991 as Sid Justice, Udy entered into a notorious feud with Hogan a year later. In the early to mid-1990s, Udy was among the headliners for the popular WrestleMania events, winning various world championships for both the WWE and WCW. Udy also took part in 1997 on Monday Night Raw. Udy's grappling career came to a stomach-churning end in what remains one of the ghastliest moments in televised wrestling history. During a pay-per-view match in January 2001, Udy jumped off a turnbuckle and landed badly, his left leg snapped and dangling at a grotesque angle, bones poking through his skin. Decades later, Udy would remember the life-changing injury in a TV interview, saying that he was still recuperating from a shoulder injury when he was convinced by a WCW executive to return and perform the rope jump. Although Udy agreed to the return, the stunt, he said, was something I didn't want to do, and I wasn't comfortable doing. Breaking news of the day. Willie Nelson is back on the road, much to the delight of fans across the country. After weeks of uncertainty surrounding his health, the iconic country music and rock and roll Hall of Famer made a triumphant return for his annual 4th of July picnic at Freedom Mortgage Pavilion in Camden, New Jersey. This beloved event featured performances by legends like Mavis Staples, Maren Morris, and Bob Dylan, showcasing Nelson's resilient spirit and enduring influence in the music world. 2 weeks prior, Nelson, who recently celebrated his 91st birthday, had been reported to be under the weather, according to updates from his social media accounts. His doctors advised him to rest, leading to adjustments in his Outlaw Roadshow schedule. During this period, fans were treated to performances by his band, family, featuring his son, Lucas Nelson, and special guests, who kept the spirit of Nelson's music alive with renditions of his classics and more. The Outlaw Music Festival Tour, which Nelson announced in February, boasts an impressive lineup that includes Bob Dylan, Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, and many others. Nelson himself expressed excitement about the tour, noting that it promises to be the biggest and best yet. Over the past decade, Nelson's festival dates have become a major annual event in North America, drawing stars such as Chris Stapleton, Neil Young, and Sheryl Crow. The music community has rallied in support of Nelson, with many artists sharing their joy at his return. Margot Price, for instance, expressed her happiness, saying, "Yes, this makes my heart so happy. We must protect Willie at all costs." Nelson's legacy was also celebrated in 2023 with a star-studded 90th birthday tribute at the Hollywood Bowl, featuring performances from Beck, Gary Clark Jr., and many others, marking another milestone in his storied career. Wood Bowl, featuring performances from Beck, Gary Clark Jr., and many others, marking another milestone in his storied career.
Barbara Eden, the legendary star of I Dream of Jeannie, is proving that age is just a number. At 93, she shared her secrets to staying fit in a recent interview with Fox News. The iconic actress revealed that her fitness routine now consists of at-home workouts and a balanced approach to indulgence, especially when it comes to sweets. "I used to work out all the time," Eden said. "I did spinning classes and weight training with a trainer, but when COVID hit, that ended my heavy workouts." Nowadays, she focuses on using a stationary bike and lifting 5-pound weights, emphasizing the importance of strength training for maintaining bone density. Though she misses the camaraderie of group fitness classes, Eden still enjoys brisk walks, noting that it's great for the knees and ankles. "I find it better than running," she added. When it comes to diet, Eden admits to having a sweet tooth and enjoys treats like key lime pie and chocolates. However, she balances it out, thanks to her parents' mantra, moderation in all things. Her ageless energy and lighthearted approach to health continue to inspire fans, showing that staying active and savoring life's simple pleasures are the keys to longevity.